Welcome to Here's How We Get There. It's the daily show filled with conversations about business and mental health in a down-to-earth style with real-world language. Now let's dive in with your co-hosts, Kenneth Shark Kinney and Trey Tucker.
All right, Shark, the whole news cycle is filled with news of O.J. Simpson's death, age 76, of cancer. There's a whole lot of different angles to this story, so where do you want to start?
Well, I was an itty kid when he basically retired from the NFL. And then later on, I think really probably my even first real exposure to him as I was growing up was knowing about his football playing days. I remember him calling games. He was fantastic at calling games. He was on like the network with the stars, all stars thing that he used to do with Howard Cosell. Those were always fun shows on ABC forever ago.
Yeah.
But then he was a fantastic actor. He was in, I think it was Towering Inferno. He was in Capricorn 1, which I just watched not that long ago. That's an old film that I think I watched on Amazon Prime. That's fantastic, with a ton of stars. And then, of course, the Naked Gun movies. But he was such a larger than life charismatic figure. I mean, some of the first commercials, TV commercials I even remember, were with him in the Hertz, and money. People were throwing money at this guy left and right. Corporate loved him. Nice looking guy, extremely articulate. The first NFL rusher to break 2,000 yards. Hall of Fame, Heisman Trophy winner. The Hall of Fame said something when he passed that, you know, his record was taken down, but it's in like the archives or some special section where they denote it, sort of just to pay some homage, if you will, without calling a spotlight on him. But the guy could not have been, he was a larger than life figure. Maybe not the most talented athlete of all time, but it was almost like Muhammad Ali. He had that certain charisma. It's like a Donald Trump. It wasn't just the president, it was a president with this big, vivacious personality, just like Muhammad Ali was as a boxer, Elvis was as a singer. I mean, just charismatic so much that it drew people in.
Yeah.
And then you think of what happened in 1994 when everybody's eyes got opened up and the world saw a whole different view of this guy that we thought on paper, on TV, and what the news reported was this wonderful guy. Turns out he had so many issues. And I think that's where my affinity, if you will, for him immediately died, because like the rest of the world, as that trial went on, everybody watched it. It was a must-see TV moment when he was in the white Bronco with OC. I can't remember the guy's last name, but I mean, they were out, and it was just, you think of that change of someone who had built this amazing legacy. You peek behind the curtains a little bit and find out about the drug use, the philandering, all the things that went on. Could not have been more of a train wreck of a person, and still maintained a pretty quiet life because he had to, after he got out of prison the second time, or, you know, the time when he did the whole heist thing that went on several years ago, after 9 years of prison. It's amazing how the rest of the world saw just a completely different person. If you think of all the reporters that came out of that, we wouldn't have, probably the Kardashians had Kim's father, stepfather, not become the figure that he was. Look at, who was the other attorney? Johnny Cochran. The Cochran firm is one of the largest in the country. He's passed away, but I mean, this guy built a huge legacy all around the, if it doesn't fit, you must acquit. I mean, it was amazing to see what we saw on TV to where he is today. And I thought it was pretty interesting. You have half the population who maybe not loved and respect him, but had some fond memories, at least from the past. And the other half that know this person was, in all likelihood, despite what the criminal conviction told you, a train wreck and a murderer. So it's hard to remember this person in a positive light, but it does conjure up a lot of nostalgic memories. How about you?
Yeah, the memories are one thing, but I'm looking at it through the lens that his situation was actually the first time I remember being interested in psychology, because people on the air at that point were debating whether or not he was a sociopath. And, you know, you can never diagnose somebody that you don't actually know as a client, but they would talk about how he fit all the criteria of a sociopath. They talked about how on the charismatic level, most sociopaths are very likable, very charming, very humorous, and exactly, exactly. You're catching my hints. Um, and of course, he fit all of that. And they talked about what sociopaths typically are really good showmen. They can
Hmm.
put on the act for whatever and whoever they need to be. And he did all those things, like you mentioned, with the acting and the commercials and just being the star football player and living the LA life. And so then they said most sociopaths, you would never believe that they have all this stuff going on. And a lot of times when a sociopath's family member tries to speak up in those situations, nobody believes them because they think, well, this guy's the best guy in the world. He's so friendly and likable. And it was, I remember the analysis of him on those shows at that point. I thought, oh my goodness, this is fascinating that a human mind can be that split and also can hide its darkness so effectively. And it must have been a tortured existence for him, quite honestly, to have to hide all that and maintain all these different images and personas. And yeah, that memory was one of the first ones that I remember thinking psychology was interesting, but also the chase in the white Bronco. I remember being on the phone with my dad because he was on a business trip or something, and we remember my dad was very sad because for him, OJ was a kind of a contemporary. He remembered him as a great USC running back and a Bills running back, and all of a sudden, now the tables flipped to where he let the country down. He went from hero to the true villain, and that was the first time I remember my dad being openly sad about some public event like that, and it stuck with me because I thought, man, these public figures, they mean more to people than what we might realize because they're so tied to our memories and our past.
Yeah, it's amazing too. And you want to remember obviously first his ex-wife and Ronald Goldman's and their families. I still remember to this day about that car chase, about how it interrupted the NBA finals, which was crazy. I remember at the time having split screens, was seeing the Rockets and the Knicks, and OC driving a white Bronco down the road, and the entire world was watching OJ in that car. Not, they were looking, and this was must see TV
Hmm.
at its biggest extreme. And I think it's going to be interesting as the younger generation maybe gets to know this character, because it pretty much ruins one of the greatest movie franchises in history. If you go watch Naked Gun, great, enjoy it, laugh your butt off, but
Yep.
then go read. It's almost worth reading before. Uh, Here's the lesson we can take out of there, because there's not a lot of lessons you can take other than don't murder someone. Get your prostate checked early. I mean, the guy died at 76 from prostate cancer. And I think I've just heard another stat. Again, prostate cancer can be treated much more effectively than it would have been treated in 1994 when all this happened. So I'm actually still kind of surprised that that's what he died for. But that's the only lesson I can come up with, other than live the right way and drink your orange juice.
Thank you for joining Shark and Trey on the Here's How We Get There show. Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the show and visit here'showwegetthere.com. That's here'showwegetthere.com.